The red-eye flight from Los Angeles to Chicago had taken off smoothly, a routine overnight journey packed with business travelers, college students, and families heading back home. The hum of the engines blended with the whispers of passengers, the clinking of glasses, and the occasional cough. Most passengers tried to settle in for the long ride, adjusting their pillows and sliding into restless sleep. In seat 8A by the window sat Rachel, a 27-year-old medical intern. Exhausted from weeks of hospital rotations, she had finally allowed herself a few hours of quiet. She had boarded the plane with her hoodie pulled over her head, earbuds in, and fell asleep almost instantly, head against the cold window. To her, this flight was nothing more than a transition, just hours to close her eyes before another day of relentless work. But fate had other plans. 2 hours into the flight, turbulence began. At first, it was subtle, the kind that rocked passengers gently and reminded them they were thousands of feet above the earth. But soon it grew stronger. Overhead bins rattled. Plastic cups toppled. Passengers stirred in their sleep, muttering anxiously. Rachel remained asleep, oblivious to the growing tension. Inside the cockpit, however, the situation was dire. Warning alarms blared across the control panel. The captain, a veteran pilot named Anderson, gripped the yoke with steady hands, his co-pilot beside him pale with fear. Something was wrong with the hydraulics. The controls were sluggish, unresponsive. Every attempt to correct the descent was met with resistance. "Mayday! Mayday!" the co-pilot whispered, eyes darting between blinking lights. The captain didn't answer yet. He was waiting, praying that the problem would resolve itself. But by the minute, it only worsened. The intercom crackled suddenly, pulling passengers out of their half-dreams. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's voice began, calm but strained. "This is your captain speaking. We're experiencing a situation that requires your attention. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." That was it. No details. No explanations. Just enough to ignite panic. Mothers clutched their children. A man in row 12 demanded answers. Flight attendants hurried down the aisles, masks of reassurance on their faces though their trembling hands betrayed them. Rachel stirred awake in 8A, blinking groggily as the whispers around her grew. "What's happening?" she mumbled, pulling her earbuds out. The woman beside her shook her head. "Something's wrong with the plane." And then came the announcement that no passenger ever wants to hear. "This is your captain again," Anderson said, his voice cracking now. "We've lost part of our hydraulic system. We are preparing for an emergency landing. I need everyone to stay calm, follow crew instructions, and brace when told." The words hit the cabin like a thunderclap. Emergency landing. Passengers froze, processing. Then chaos erupted. Cries, prayers, frantic questions. Rachel sat frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She was no longer a tired intern on her way home. She was part of something much bigger, something terrifying. The plane dropped suddenly, turbulence slamming it downward. Screams echoed as overhead bags spilled into the aisles. A baby wailed. The attendants tried to keep order, shouting instructions. Rachel's medical training instinctively kicked in. She scanned the cabin. An elderly man clutching his chest, a woman hyperventilating into her hands, a child screaming uncontrollably. She unbuckled, ignoring the seatbelt sign, and rushed to the elderly man. "I'm a doctor," she shouted over the noise, kneeling beside him. His pulse was rapid, uneven. A panic attack, or worse, a heart issue triggered by the fear. Rachel steadied him, coaching his breathing, whispering reassurance. The attendants noticed her, quickly giving her space. For the first time, she wasn't just passenger 8A. She was becoming something more. Back in the cockpit, Anderson and his co-pilot struggled to keep the jet level. Air traffic control had cleared an emergency strip in Denver for a crash landing attempt. Fire trucks and ambulances lined the runway, sirens flashing like beacons in the night. But they had 40 minutes to survive before reaching it. Anderson made another announcement. "Everyone, listen to your crew. We'll be landing shortly. You may feel strong impacts. Do not panic. Stay braced." His voice was strong, but his eyes betrayed his fear. He had flown for 32 years. But tonight, even he wasn't sure if they'd make it. Rachel continued moving through the cabin, calming passengers. She helped the mother with the screaming child, guiding her through a breathing exercise. She reassured a businessman who muttered prayers, gripping his arm until he steadied. The crew began to rely on her presence. Her calm, under pressure contagious, the young boy tugged her sleeve, whispering, "Are we going to die?" Rachel knelt, looking him in the eyes. "Not tonight," she said firmly, forcing a smile. "We're going to make it together." Her words spread, echoing in the cabin. A strange calm settled. Fear remained, but hope took root. As the jet neared Denver, the lights of the city sparkled beneath the clouds. The passengers were told to brace. Flight attendants demonstrated the crash position, urging everyone to listen. Rachel returned to 8A, her hands trembling now, adrenaline draining. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer to her father, who had always believed she was stronger than she knew. The captain's voice came one last time. "Brace! Brace! Brace!" The plane plummeted, wheels screeching as they struck asphalt. The cabin jolted violently, oxygen masks swinging like pendulums. The fuselage rattled, sparks lighting the night outside. Screams rose and fell. Metal groaned. For a moment, it felt like the end, but then silence. The plane slowed, rolled, stopped. They had made it. Passengers erupted into sobs, laughter, hugs. Strangers clutched each other, bound forever by survival. Firefighters rushed on board, guiding them out into the cold night air. Rachel stumbled onto the runway, tears streaming freely now. She had been asleep in 8A when it all began, but tonight she had found herself awake in a way she'd never been before. She stood among the rescued. A firefighter touched her shoulder. "You saved lives in there," he said simply. Rachel shook her head. "No, we saved each other." And that's the story of Rachel, the woman in seat 8A who woke up to the captain's desperate announcement and discovered courage she never knew she had. It wasn't just the pilots or the emergency crews who saved that flight. It was the strength of ordinary people rising in extraordinary circumstances that, the next time you board a flight, remember this. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they're just tired passengers in 8A waiting for life to call them into action. That if this story gave you chills, don't forget to subscribe. Because more incredible stories like this are waiting to remind you that courage can come from anyone, anywhere, at any time.